What's up, Internet? You're tuning in episode 119 of the Steam Deck Podcast, Slipscreen Games' weekly gaming podcast all about Valve's portable PC powerhouse, the Steam Deck. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined today by my very good friend and co-host, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Steven. We got some breaking news this week. We had a whole special episode planned. We sent out the topic to everybody, and then Steam released malware. Or Valve released malware on Steam, and we obviously have to start with that. So, great timing. Mac's not here this week, so we'll see if we get to that topic, and if not, we'll save it for his return next week, because obviously we got to talk about this one. I didn't hear about this until I popped open the document, so I'm like literally getting this in real time right alongside the listener. So, Steve, give me the breakdown. What happened here?
So there was this game release called PirateFi. It was a Web3, so you know it's legit. Web3 free-to-play survival game that was released on Steam. Apparently, it was had 7,000 users according to the developers. SteamDB says it's only around 800 via Steam, but PC Mag in the UK did some more reporting and found out that they're also distributing it via Telegram, apparently, so it's possible they do have more users downloading it from different platforms.
Did you see the editor's note on the PC Mag thing too, where like there was a reader who like commented or wrote in or whatever, and they got a message from somebody that they were like, they had an in-game chat moderator vacancy that was
$17 an hour.
It's like, what do you mean? Like, you're out here like spreading the game on Telegram and trying to like scam people into jobs or something? Like, what is happening?
It was really strange.
It's so bizarre.
It was all a ploy, that advert and talking via Telegram to get people to download the game, even though the game had terrible reviews. The X account got taken down. It was still up for I think about a week. Valve has now taken it down, and they've emailed all the players, but it installed a virus called trojan.win32.lazy.gen, and that virus was known to Kaspersky, and it was uploaded on a bunch of security websites. It was a known piece of malware, and what it does is it goes into your browser cookies, it steals the cookies, and they can then use that to hijack your accounts. So they were hijacking accounts from Microsoft, for Roblox. They were like basically draining these accounts. PC Mag did some like reporting on it, and they spoke to a bunch of people saying that a gamer said that most of my stuff was either hacked and passwords changed or signed in using cookies that must have been stolen. My Microsoft account got stolen. Someone else said that their Roblox account got stolen, and they stole $20 and messaged all of their friends scam links while taking all of their Steam points to buy awards for bot accounts. So
what a ridiculous thing to steal, by the way.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, it seems silly to steal, $20 out of a kid's
No,
Roblox
I meant
account.
Steam points. That's crazy. Yeah. The $20 makes sense, because if you do it to 800 people, that's a lot of money, right? But like,
well, the Steam points,
like they stole your Steam points to buy awards. I guess for bot accounts? What end?
Those accounts look more legit. So when the bots are talking to people, they've got like awards and stickers and things on their accounts.
Good point. Yeah.
It's a very, very clever piece of software. Essentially, when you launch the game, the virus unpacks itself, and then goes ahead and steals all the cookies, and then can, if the website only authenticates with cookies, once you've logged in and you click the Remember Me button, it's dropped a cookie, it knows it's you, it can get into any website. Theoretically, this could be your bank, this could be Amazon.
This is why you should clear your cookies regularly.
Clear your cookies, use incognito mode, don't click Remember Me, enable two-factor authentication everywhere if you can. But unfortunately, Valve has just sent out an email to everyone saying that we're contacting you because you recently launched PirateFi on Steam. The Steam account of the developer for this game uploaded builds to Steam that contain suspected malware. You played PirateFi on Steam while these builds were active, so it's likely malicious files launched on your computer. The builds containing suspected malware have been removed from Steam, but we strongly encourage you to run a full system scan using an antivirus product you trust and use regularly, and inspect your system for unexpected or newly installed software. You may also consider fully reformatting your operating system, which
reinstall Windows,
get rid of all of your data. Like, that is the nuclear option, and I feel like that's the route most people probably should go down, because you have no idea what remnants of this thing is going to be left behind.
Did you see the bit of it too that the game isn't even a real, like, it was like the screenshots on Steam were taken from another video game called Easy Survival RPG?
Is Easy Survival RPG meant to be a good game?
I don't know whether or not that's a good game, but I'm saying that, like, it wasn't even, like, the screenshots aren't even from a game, or not from this game, right? Like, it's like
I mean, it has made me question what Valve's process is here. Like, what is the 30% cut that they're taking actually for? The screenshots aren't from the game. It's got a known virus in it that could have been found with a simple virus scan. The reviews on this were mostly positive. There was like 19 positive reviews, so they're clearly not filtering out any of the negative reviews or the bots or things like that. I don't know how this happened. I really don't.
It's really a massive foul up. Yeah, and I think it's one that, like, you know, they haven't formally responded yet, and I really think how they do is going to be important. Like, I mean, obviously, I think there's always the wrinkle of the fact that, like, people have short memories, and that, like, the vast...
Yeah, well, I mean, it's only 800 people.
Right.
And probably a lot of those people didn't even open the game once they downloaded it.
Yeah.
Some of them would have just been security researchers, I would imagine, that heard about it and wanted to download it and see what was in there. And of those that did everyone get their account stolen? Probably not.
No,
there probably was a lot of cookies that weren't captured. But
yeah, and that's maybe a worthwhile angle to this, is the idea that, like, since it didn't affect that many people, that, like, it won't have that much of a ripple effect. But I mean,
however, what stops someone, say, hacking into a known developer, replacing a build of the game that has a bit of malware in it, and that update gets distributed to potentially millions of people?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, like, I don't know enough about, you know, data security and like the infrastructure of like how one gets into the back end of Steam to comment on, like, whether or not something like that's even realistic. But, like, this happened, right? So, like, and if I'm somebody that develops malware and I see this story, like, I'm like, floodgates are open, right? Like, what is the process?
Like,
you know, how difficult is it to get malware on Steam if this snuck through? And
is there anything else there? This was one that was found.
Yeah, how many other games
pretty nefarious
could exist that have that? Yeah, right, and maybe that are, like, doing data scraping that's less nefarious. And
yeah, or even something like mining Bitcoin in
Right.
the background. You know, using your GPU while you're not looking and completely destroying the thing to mine Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Mm-hmm.
I'd imagine something like that exists on the store. You don't know. We also don't know if this has happened before and Valve just didn't tell anyone about it.
Yeah, and it just wasn't reported on, right?
And it just wasn't reported.
Just happened, right? And people caught it. So, and, like, people got their information stolen and their accounts locked out and everything. So it's like, yeah, of course, like, you know, it at least made the rounds. But even so, right, to the point I made earlier, I hadn't heard about it until we sat down to record. So it's not like it was on the front page of Reddit and IGN, and, you know, it's not everybody's talking about it, right? You know, it's PC Mag, it's us, it's like people that focus on this kind of stuff are reporting on it. So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's totally possible that that's the case, that this is a thing that's happened in the past, that it will happen again, and we just won't know about it. But yeah, I mean, it definitely, I think, to me anyway, as somebody that does know that it happened, it's a big black eye on their reputation, right? Because, you know, I think the Steam, like, discovery page, right, is something, like, I've used many times to check out new games that I'd never heard of, and, like, it does.
Have you ever found it where you downloaded a game and the screenshots don't match up? Because I've never had that.
No, I've never had that happen, and I think that, like, it's probably a rare use case for somebody who is going that deep in the Duffy to check out new unreleased games that have no press. And, it's like, how many people are doing that? Probably not that many. But
the thing I think about this is that so nefarious is that it's got that Web3 spin on it. So people who are like potentially vulnerable, potentially wanting to make a bit of cash, make a quick buck, and they're playing the survival game, and it's one of those pay to earn thingies. That's potentially the reason they downloaded it. It's like, oh, I can earn a bit of cash, I can play this game. That could be the route that I go down.
Yeah.
And it turns out that it's actually just stealing your cash in the background.
Yeah, and I mean, not to demonize the folks who, not to like blame the victims of this this crime. But I mean, don't play Web3 games. Like they are scams. Like they're all pretty scuzzy and scammy. And like, I don't know that we have an example of one of these games that uses one of these buzzwords that has actually been a legitimate piece of software, right? Like,
I don't know of any others that are popular on Steam.
No, but I mean, you know what I mean though? Like what developer have you seen that's like, we're making Web3 games, we're making metaverse games?
2 or 3 years ago, that was a thing.
Yeah.
NFTs, when Ubisoft was like, we're getting into NFTs and you'll be able to have unique items that are specific to, it was like Ubisoft Quartz, and it was like, really, Ubisoft? Has anyone been asking for this?
Oh my God. I'll never forget, like, there's like that one thread that was like making the rounds that everybody was just dunking on, where this guy's like, imagine like you could have a gun and you can use it in every shooter that you play. And it's like, that's not how anything works. Like, it's just like, shut the fuck up. Like, you don't like, it's like,
I mean, the thing is, it could work like that. Most games are in Unreal Engine these days. Epic could just run like a database. It's just like, oh, this is your Epic Games account.
Yeah, but come on, man.
You have like a gun that you use everywhere. But it's like,
yeah, and you think that's gonna just work? What? Like you're gonna balance a weapon across? I could use it in Fortnite or Apex Legends.
Aesthetically,
and shut the fuck
could
up.
work.
No, it won't. Not you, but it's like that's a fucking.
Yeah.
That's such a like insane. What's the word for it? Is it blue sky? It's like, or blue ocean, right? Where it's like,
yeah, it's like an executive's come up with that idea.
Yeah, exactly. Not somebody that no programmer has that idea, right? Because they're like, that's dumb. That would never work. Or the amount of effort it would take to make it work is like so ludicrous that it would have no like. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So yeah, please, for the love of God, stay safe out there. Don't download Web3 games. Don't fucking engage with this nonsense. Don't engage with Web3 or the metaverse or AI or any of this. It's all garbage. It's all garbage. Silicon Valley is still upset that they've not been able to like invent something that people actually want since the tablet, right? Like that's the real answer here. They want something.
Hey, I love my Apple Watch.
Okay.
I use that all the time.
Fine. Wearable tech, and there's one example of that's cool. Great. Okay.
Did you edit the other humane?
Also, I want to say I love my smartwatch too. I'm not anti-technology. I'm pro-technology that's actually useful, and
it's got to serve a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of the Web3 stuff can be done without a blockchain. There are some interesting use cases for a blockchain. I just
none of the ones that have been suggested.
Yeah, I don't think so. Whereas like things like contracts and stuff that are legally binding agreements, and everyone can see that. I feel like that's
just not sexy though, right? Like it's the same thing with like you and I have talked about that with AI, right? It's like there are practical uses of AI. They're just not sexy, right? It's like it's being able to
I use using AI to help you write a CV. Oh my god!
It's just like like simple repeatable tasks, of like, like if I had like, if I did a survey, right? And I had all of our listeners.
A great example is the State of Steam Deck survey.
Yeah, compile this data for me so that it's more digestible, right? Great. Those are things that it's capable of, right? But like original thought? No, it's not. It's barely capable of organizing other people's thoughts. And it's just like, yeah, I mean, like we're not there with any of this tech, but also a lot of it is insidious, like on its face. And not that the idea is necessarily bad, but that the people that are behind it are to the example you made, right? It's like it's executives looking to sell the next groundbreaking technology rather than it actually being the next groundbreaking technology.
Which I do feel like we had a lot of even just at the start of the console generation, right? That when was the last time you played a game on a PlayStation that had the Tempest audio engine that gave you the 3D sound that really immersed you in the experience? Literally nobody. Nobody cares about that.
No.
And I don't really every now and again you see something that comes on and it just makes sense. And I feel like Valve got it and nailed it with the Steam Deck. They didn't put too much shit in there that wasn't necessary. And
no, but no regular person wants stuff like that. I'm convinced. You know, it's like regular people barely like, especially when you look at like the like you know how like we've had that conversation about how like there's kind of research showing that like Gen Z is less technologically savvy than we are because they grew up with like more user-friendly technology, and we were kind of like a troubleshooting generation. I don't say that as like a value judgment. That's just like a thing that has been observed by sociologists.
Yeah.
And my point in bringing that up is that like nobody wants stuff like this. Like it's too complicated. It's too like it's not nobody, but not enough people to make it a mass market product, I think.
I feel like in the case of Web3 pay to earn, if I want to pay to earn, I want some money coming into my PayPal account or Venmo'd over to me. I don't want to have to then get that in your weird token and then convert that to Ethereum and then send it over from a wallet on the blockchain to Coinbase, where I can then cash it out and I've made like 50p.
Also, like I don't want to be paid to play a game. Like video games are not supposed to be jobs, they're games.
I would so love to be a video game tester though, where I get paid.
I don't think you would.
Give my thoughts on it.
I don't think you would though, because I don't know. I've known testers, and that's like most of what you're doing is trying to break a game for 8 hours a day and then note down how you broke it. You know, it's
I don't mean as QA. I mean as like a play test. Like I'm coming in, I'm seeing what Kojima's cooking up.
Sure.
You know, and I get to, and I'm one of the only people in the world that knows what that is.
Fine.
And also,
that's a technological application, though. That's not like a type of game.
Well, we also have been paid to play games. You know, when we make reviews and things, right?
That's different. I'm being paid to offer commentary on a game or to provide entertainment by playing a game. Right?
Yeah.
I think that's different. And I also don't have a problem with people making money on user-generated content that makes money. That's game development. But the idea that it's like you could be playing Minecraft and making money it's like that is dystopian. You know, it's like that was literally a thing that was illegal in World of Warcraft. It's farming gold, right? It's like I don't think it's in the spirit of video games, right? Of the art form to have a game that the entire purpose of the game is to generate money. Like, and not obviously selling software. You know what I mean? Like the gameplay moment to moment is you doing something that only exists to mine Ethereum. It's like, get out of here. Just get out of here.
I would love to see like Lucas Pope's take on it and a commentary on pay to earn or something like that. Like, you know, like Papers, Please, but instead it's like pay to earn and you just have
You're going to be living through that soon enough.
You're just clicking all day long to earn money, and that's it.
Oh my god. Dystopia, man.
That'd be great. That's such a cool idea for a game. You start off having to click, and then you start earning so much money that you move to like the Homer Simpson little shaker thing. What's that thing he has?
The Drinky Bird?
Yeah, where he's so fat he doesn't want to go to work and he's just pressing the button on the keyboard.
Well, the bird is.
Yeah, and then you like upgrade. It's like lemonade stand, and you upgrade and you get more and more and more of those bird things, and then eventually you're running your own farm and you're hiring people. This is a great idea for a video game. Someone should make this.
See, what you're describing is a tycoon game, and that's a video game, and it's already right. Games. So what you're doing is what all of these companies do, which is they describe something that exists and then they make it worse.
Yeah, I just want to make this, and it's going to be a Web3 theme around it, and then eventually you launch your own cryptocurrency at the end, and I think that's the end game.
Oh my god! And then you launch a rocket that shoots me into the sun. Here's my question: what do you to circle us back to, the incident here? What do you make of this? Is this something that you think is like an isolated incident? Do you think that Valve's gonna respond with some kind of apology and here's our new,
I think
more
that's
rigorous testing process, or is this going to be a thing that they try to sidestep?
No, I think they will address it, but I don't think it'll be publicly. I think it'll go up on Steamworks, which is their developer portal. That now all of the binaries that get uploaded probably go through some level of antivirus scan in order to see what's going on behind the scenes. I'm surprised they don't do it already. How is that not
already a thing?
Yeah, I'm surprised they don't do it already. Maybe they do, and this one just slipped through the net. Maybe it was a relatively new virus. They hadn't updated their database or whatever. I mean, that's basics. That's what happens when you upload to the Apple App Store. That's what happens when you upload to Google Play. They check and make sure that there's nothing known in there. And also, boot the fucking game up and have a look. Does it match the screenshots or not? Like, seriously, that is like basic of basics.
And I mean, this is the trouble with it's the same problem with like any user generated content platform or just like just distribution on the internet, right? Like when you have hundreds of thousands of games being submitted to Steam, every year, every month, right?
It used to work when they had the Steam Greenlight system, right?
Yeah.
That they would vet everything, and now
I think that's what you need to do. Like, I genuinely think like you need to have a human being boot the game up and look at it for a few minutes.
That's how it's done over at Apple. That's how it's done at Google. I don't understand why Valve can't do that.
I think it's probably an overhead thing. It's that they don't want to have a team of people that have to do this every day.
I feel like you could not have to do it up front. You could come up with some kind of validation scheme, like we have the deck verified system, where it says it's not been validated, it's not been looked at by a human yet. Once they cross a threshold of like 1,000 users downloaded or 500, they can see the game starting to make traction, someone boots it up. Or if it gets flagged enough times that the screenshots didn't match, there's some malware that came up, then they boot it up again.
But I think that's even problematic because then it's like you're putting the onus on the community to be like, I had malware installed on my computer, do something about it, which is this exact same situation that we had here. Like I think they need to have a more proactive
Give
solution.
Give them some Steam coin and let the community do the work. I feel like there's so many people who would do it for some Steam credit or for a little badge. Like there is at some point, like why are you not utilizing the community? Other platforms.
I mean, I think because it's
a great job.
It's unpaid labor, though. That's why. It's like it's. I think it's because like
Wikipedia runs on that.
That's different. Like, you know what I mean? Because it's like
I do know what you mean. That's a foundation. It's
a false equivalency, right? So it's a nonprofit, right? So it's like the point is that like they have full-time employees that exist to maintain the health of the platform, right? So that it can continue to be a haven for user-generated content. But yeah, I don't think that there's a version of this where you don't have a human hand on the wheel where stuff doesn't fall through the cracks. Because it's like, again, like if I don't know, I think all it takes is one instance like this where a Steam user of my own, volition and, altruism, I want to be a part of the solution and play test stuff the same way that like there are dozens of people that like go through the trouble to make like a layout and then share it with the community. It's just like, it's gamer, solidarity, right? It's community stuff. I want to do this. I benefited from this. Now I'm sharing with to other people how to do it, right? And I don't expect compensation. I think when you're talking about with playtesting, like playtesting is work. It's literally like if you hold on.
Some of that though on Steam.
Deck. But hold on. So you're taking a huge swath like QA, right? And like testing that's a huge swath of the number of employed developers, right? So you're like taking work that should be going to a person and then giving it to a unpaid community member, and then what happens the first time that like this happens and malware gets through and they get their identity stolen and their bank account cleaned out because they wanted to altruistically help it's a absolute nightmare if they do that.
There's got to be some level of automated testing that can be done here as well, though. But they do already have some of that community stuff. Like when you finish a game on Steam Deck, it's like our testing showed that this played fine on Steam Deck. Do you agree with that? And you can click yes or no.
And that's okay. And that's where I think the community side comes through, because ideally the game's already it's gone through Valve's testing to say that this is a safe, functional piece of software. Now, it's up to you to say, well, how does it run on your machine? How did it run on Steam Deck? What was your opinion of the quality of the game? That's where user reviews and everything come in. Obviously, I'm pro that stuff, but putting the onus on the community to identify what is safe, functional software is ridiculous. That's Valve's job.
Yeah.
What else do they do?
100%.
It's a storefront. Right? Like I shouldn't, it's like, it'd be like if I was going to the grocery store and it's like, it's my job to find out if this food is poison. It's like, no, that's the whole thing is I'm coming to you to know that I'm buying something that I can eat. Right? And it's like that is the one thing you do, right? That is your one job, is to create a safe environment for me to buy and play video games. And this is obviously a lapse in that. And I think the vast majority, right? Like, think about how long you've had a Steam account.
I've never ever experienced this.
Never heard of it either.
But I would imagine the volume has gone up immensely in terms of the number of games that are submitted, the number of games that are on the store.
Oh, yeah. So many more than it was, say, 10 years ago, right?
Yeah, the majority of this can be automated. Automatically pop it through a virus scan once it uploads. If it gets rejected, someone can manually look at it if the developer says, hey, no, there's not a virus in there.
That's what I think it should be. I think you should have an automated system, right? And let's just say, for the sake of argument, there's 100 flags, right? Where it's like, does the game boot? Do the screenshots match? Whatever.
Like because you can easily have it compare images and go, there's a 90% chance that this
Those are all things that could absolutely be automated. And like, you could have an automated thing being like, open the software. Does it crash? Like, open the software. Does it launch malware? Like, those are all things that you could automate. And I think what I would do is that, like, it has to go through that process. As soon as it gets flagged, the developer gets an email and it's like, here's all the things that your game failed. Resubmit. If you think we're wrong, challenge it. A human will review your case in the order that it gets to. And I think ultimately what that's going to mean is that the process for publishing games on Steam needs to be slower, and it should take longer.
And I feel like it can be quicker once you're trusted. I trust Microsoft to upload something.
Or I think even on a smaller level, if it's like Yacht Club Games, it's like, oh yeah, they made Shovel Knight, right? Like, we know Shovel Knight was a great piece of software, great, right? Even if you're like a minor developer, I would say to the thing that you said, if you have a previous game in your catalog, right, that has over 1,000 Steam reviews, then yeah.
But this is where something that happened with Apple accounts comes into play, which was people like these developers would buy an Apple account from you for like 25, 30,000. And if your game wasn't doing too well, you just be like, yeah, okay, I'll sell it. I'll cash out. And it looks like a trusted account. And then all of a sudden someone's uploading on that trusted account.
And I think that's a thing that Valve needs to be, and again, it's like, I'm putting the onus on them, but it is their problem to solve. Right, and I know that it's an unreasonable problem. It's the same argument.
I don't think scanning for a virus is an unreasonable problem, because Kaspersky found it. Some player launched it and was just like, "Whoa, hold on! This says it's got this in there." So
exactly.
If someone's running that on their PC, Valve could be running that on their servers.
So to your point, right? Are there loopholes and things like, stuff's going to fall through the cracks? That might be what happened here, right? Is that it was like a totally reasonable mistake, and it isn't something that's likely to happen again. But hey, here we are. Fair enough.
Maybe there is automated testing, but they're doing a Volkswagen, and it figures out that they're running through automated testing and then cheats and shows it different screenshots and shows it different things.
And like that, those are all totally possible things that I think are like reasonable. And like, if that's the case, then hey, yeah, like shit happens and you need to learn from the mistake, and is what it is, right? Like, that's what happens when you have a data breach, right? Like, you realize that there was a hole and you plug it up. Fair enough. But yeah, I mean, I think to your point, like as the volume of games is coming, increasing and everything like that, yeah, it's just something that I think like, they have the resources, right? They're an extremely well-off company. They make billions of dollars a year. They can hire a team to do this, and they probably should.
They probably already have a team doing it, and I don't know. Maybe this is just human error. Maybe this was found and they clicked the wrong button. Yeah, it could be simple as that.
Yeah, you're right. Totally. Or again, that there's a team that does this and they just need more resources because it's like, we established this team in 2014 and now there's 10 times as many games coming through and
who knows? You know how Valve works. It could have been that team had 10 people on it. People got bored and they're like, I want to do a new project. And they just make their own team and form because it's a completely flat structure and no one really reports.
And like, it's like, well, the automated system's working, so we're fine, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're at a point where it's, we're just spitballing. But yeah, I think it's one of those things of like, to me, as a consumer, right? Like it raises a red flag, but also I think if I was like a small developer, I would be very frustrated by this because it's going to make people.
It's going to make you a bit more wary.
About small games that you haven't heard of. And that's the part of the strength of Steam is the discoverability and that like a game like, Balatro, for example, can come out from a new developer with no fanfare, no marketing, and just rise to the top because it whips. And obviously, I don't think that something like this like precludes that, but to your point, like it's going to make certain people think twice. And those people, the 800 people that got affected by this, the people that like are day one going and downloading a new game with no reviews, like they're the ones that get a Balatro circulating.
Yeah.
Like you don't want to scare off tastemakers.
Well, and does Valve help the people get whole again that had their money stolen from their Microsoft and their Roblox accounts?
No, probably not. They probably signed a, you agreed
it's
that
probably in the terms of service.
Yeah, that they're not liable for anything that happens, and therefore whatever. If it's a small enough number of people, they might just to be like sign of
hey, we're gonna send you a Steam Deck here.
Yeah, that kind of thing, or we'll send you $100 in Steam credit, whatever, that kind of thing, maybe but I wouldn't bet on it. So if you guys want to write in with your thoughts, I'm very interested to hear from the community on this one. Is this something that gives you pause the next time you go to download a new indie game that's on the front page you haven't heard of? Is this something that you think you want to see like a proper, response from Valve? Or do you think that this is kind of just like one of those, like PlayStation Network just had an outage, right? Like stuff happens, right? And leaks happen. Information, gets leaked. It is something that is par for the course these days, and I think there is a certain amount of like, margin for error where it's understandable, and then there are parts where points where maybe it feels egregious, and I'm interested to see how people feel where this lands on that spectrum.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to jump into the Steam docket. We haven't done this one in a minute. We've got a couple questions, and we got one here from that one kid, Nick, who's a brand new Patreon producer for the month of February. He went and showed his support at the Screen Queen level, just like you can over on Patreon. So I wanted to give him a little chance to read his thoughts here. He wrote in with a question and a request for you, Steve, and one that I gotta say I'm pretty interested in myself. So I'm excited to see you troubleshoot this one. So Nick wrote in and said, and I guess I'll say he signs it Nico, so I'll say Nico wrote in and said, Hello, gents. Recently got into the podcast along with getting my first Steam Deck, the 1 terabyte OLED model, and immediately fell in love with the show and, of course, my hardware. I'm catching up on your guys' backlog right now and had one quick question / idea pitch for Steve to possibly tackle if he's down for it. I've been trying to find a way to play Viva Pinata along with Viva Pinata Trouble in Paradise on my Steam Deck and only can seem to find one solution that happens to be the PC port and lots of intricate processes to make a reality. Frankly, I'd prefer the Xbox 360 versions and also know that Rare Replay, the only current way to play it, is locked to Xbox One and Game Pass and is not available for a PC version. Would you possibly be able to help? I'm sorry for the long-winded response. Cheers to you guys and the amazing show. Nico. P.S. Pete, love the band. Pop punk for life. Thank you, Nico.
Nice.
Appreciate that.
So I want to do a bit more research into this, but at first glance, if you don't want to go down the PC port route, the only other real option you've got is to go down the 360 emulation route, which would be using Xenia. I'd recommend going and downloading something like MUDEC. That'll get everything set up for you, and then you just need to dump the ROMs yourself from a disk and put those onto your Steam Deck, and you should be able to play them. I'm not sure if you've tried that or if there's an issue with playing Viva Pinata in Xenia. It's not a game that I've ever played. So
you would love it. You should do some digging to make this happen. Because I'd love it, Chewy would love it, and you would love it. This is a very, very Steve game. I
have Rare Replay as well. Like I have the disc version of Rare Replay. So I can actually play this on Xbox anyway.
It would be so at home on Steam Deck, though. Like, oh my God, it would be so perfect on Steam Deck. I want this on Steam Deck so bad.
Yeah, this is a great one that ties into what would have been this week's main topic, but we're going to talk about next week when Max is back, which is like ports of console games.
Yeah, this wasn't on my initial list, and it's on it now. Is Rare Replay? It should absolutely be on Steam. What are you kidding me?
Yeah, I'm surprised it's not. I sometimes struggle with just emulators being sold and them not really doing much work and putting much effort into it. But some of them are great, like the Atari 50 collection. Yeah. The Sega stuff was great until they delisted it all. It's really, really disappointing that they did that. And Rare Replay is a great example as well.
I think for me, it like how comfortable I am with it. It totally has to do with like the format, because like I think to your point, like something like Atari 50, it's like there's a lot of love put into something like that,
massive amount.
It's like totally like worth it. But I think with Rare Replay, it's like, you know, there's a lot of those games were just never playable, like on modern hardware. And then there was a bunch of them that were like, hadn't been ported in a while, hadn't had an HD version. So like, I think you got bang for your buck, right? Like the Banjo-Kazooie version that came with Rare Replay is kind of like the definitive way to play it, right? And it's like, you know, I think a collection like that has that much to offer and like does have the like historical element to it, I'm like, that always feels better to me than when it's just like,
we're selling you the same game again for $15.
Right. Yeah.
And it's probably got an ugly font if we made it by Square Enix.
True. And I think like that's why, like, again, like I like the Mega Man Legacy Collection games where it's just like, it's just like, you know, you're paying $60 for like 8 games.
Yeah, the Castlevania collection's meant to be really good as well. I think Max said he really loved that.
That hits all right. You know, it's like, yeah, I don't feel pressed about that. So, what's the timeline on this, Steve? How long till I chase you down for an answer?
I'll see if I can report back for next week, but I think Xenia is probably the route to go. But I will because look,
I was already gonna help out my man Nico, but I got skin in this game now, so I'm gonna
I'll see if I can, and then we can talk about it next week with the other console ports we'd love to see come, because I would love to see Toy Story 2, and I have played that actually on my Steam Deck.
There you go. All right, let's jump into another question here. Okay, here there's another one that we got it was like a week or two ago. This one comes from Yoshibaru, who said, idea for a future topic. Seeing where AMD is going with Strix Halo, do you see viability in an upcoming Valve device with a 120-watt APU? How do you see this device slotting into the Steam ecosystem? Living room box that can also power remote play to Steam Deck? How would this device differentiate itself from a traditional gaming PC or consoles? What does this mean, Steve?
I think that was a question that Max put in. So it's the TDP of
the what does this mean is from Max. Got it. Okay. My bad. Max editorializing the questions.
Yeah, I think that was nice. So the TDP of the Steam Deck, I can't remember what it is.
I can look it up.
I think it's 15 watts, if I'm not mistaken. So 120 watts would be an almost 10 times jump in the power of the Steam Deck to whatever this Valve device would be.
It looks like it is 15.
So I think it by default it tries to clock around 10 and can boost up to 15, which is when the fans used to kick in on the LCD model. It obviously is that because it's battery powered, and I don't think we can really eke out much there. So a 120 watt device would definitely need to be a
Wired.
box for the living room. It's going to be some kind of console. And I really feel like there's a market for it. And we've spoken about it multiple times that this is the kind of device we would love. Like Valve basically making a pre-built PC, but they've got their unique partnership with AMD where they can hone in and help design the chip and get exactly what they want. They control the ecosystem end to end with Steam OS and with Steam just selling you the games, and then potentially having a new Steam controller as well, which we've seen leaked. So I really feel like there's a lot there and a lot of potential. I'd love to see a living room box, and I'd love to then see that being able to remote play over to the Steam Deck, which it would be able to because you can Steam Link to any PC.
Right.
I think the differentiator from a traditional gaming PC and console, traditional gaming PC is that's an absolute hassle for you to have to make. You need a PhD in computer science to figure out what part pairs with what, unless you use something like PC Part Picker. It's expensive. For a decent build, you're probably looking at like $1,200 to $1,500.
And something that I always like to point out is a lot more than that if you're building one for the first time, because you need to buy monitors, you're going to need to buy a mouse, you're going to need to buy a keyboard, you're going to need to buy, if you want a microphone and a webcam so you can do multiplayer with your buddies. Like, yeah, adds up quick. I just updated my PC and spent over $2,000.
Yeah. My dad was looking at building a PC, and he's ultimately decided not to, and just buy. He bought an iMac instead because he just wants it for video editing. And it went out so much cheaper because he didn't have to buy the monitor, he didn't have to buy the keyboard, he didn't have to buy the mouse. It was like so much cheaper. He went from like a laptop to the iMac. I feel like this would be probably around the $800 to $1,000 price point. I think they'd aim for. And it's more powerful than a console. You get all the perks of it being a PC that you have access to every single game. You know, if PlayStation
the obvious benefit, the Steam ecosystem, right? Like
it's the Steam ecosystem, and it's an open platform as well. Like you can boot into desktop mode and download games from GOG or
use it as an emulator with EmuDeck, right? Like those kinds of things. I think to answer like how would it differentiate itself the same way that the Steam Deck does, right? Which is that in all the ways that are important, it does differentiate itself. In all the ways that are not, it doesn't, because you kind of want it to be a console, right? It's like, it's all of the benefit of a console in terms of like simplicity, right? Like plug and play, like that kind of element, but without, being a walled garden, right? So you can install things from other launchers. You can play fan games on it. You can play emulators on it. You can, get into.
You can do all of the stuff we spoke about last week. You can teach your personal trainer courses and use it for presentations. That was a great episode if you missed it last week.
Oh my god,
all the weird ways that people use the Steam Deck.
That reminds me, we got another comment. I think it was on YouTube. Let me see if I can find it, where somebody also was like, "Oh my god, yeah, like my wife and I like use it for like
they use it at church.
Yeah, PowerPoints at a church, right? Was that YouTube? Yeah. It was like, oh my god, yeah, like there's another person who uses it that way. That's so interesting.
Yeah,
it's very cool. Very cool. So I'm struggling to find the comment in front of me. For you who wrote in, I apologize that I don't have your name, but we really enjoyed your comment. So yeah, I think in terms of like where it slots into the ecosystem, we've talked about it in the past. I just think it makes sense, right? Like it's like, I think in the same way that the Steam Deck is, I think if you're a PC gamer, it's a great companion to your PC. And if you're not a PC gamer, it's a great way to like Trojan horse people into the Steam ecosystem.
I think that's really what Valve would be going for. It's like, if you're a PC gamer, you've probably got a huge rig, you're probably not that bothered. The Steam Deck's a great companion to that. This box would be, you loved the Steam Deck, and you kind of want a little bit more power, and you want to be able to play those games that you love on your Steam Deck at home. And I feel like
you want to play the games in your Steam library on your television, like in a higher, like that with parity with your PlayStation or whatever, right?
And I think if they'd have had a little bit more forethought, they could have put an Oculink on the Steam Deck, and they could have gone down the route of selling a dock with this external APU.
Yeah.
And that would have allowed them to not have to make two devices. You sell people the Steam Deck, you sell people the dock with the APU. But
That would have been
it
smart.
might be that this is a better approach for them anyway, to just sell a bundle, a box.
I mean,
with...
I do think that makes more sense, because as much as I like the suggestion of like the APU connecting to the deck and like kind of being able to just unlock the power of the deck, right? Like there is the reality that if you make a dedicated set-top box, dedicated console style box, and you don't have to spend money on a screen and stuff, it's like you touch pads, like all these things that drive up the cost of the Steam Deck can all just go into the power and give you like a way, more aggressive benchmark for, output. And I think, you kind of mentioned it as like, this probably isn't for the person with a high quality PC rig. I kind of think it could be, though, because I think that when you think about the idea that like, I think of like somebody like Max, right? Where
the
it's
reason
like,
I don't think it is because you can stream from your high quality PC, and you probably
right. But wouldn't you stream it to the box then? I guess you could just get a Steam link.
To the box, but you could just stream it to a Steam link or a TV that's got that on it, or it could be
okay. Fair enough. That was what I was going to say, though, was like, you get that as the third piece in your arsenal, right? And it's like, if you are somebody like Max who has like a rig and it's like moved over to PC gaming full time, but like he does like the console controller sitting on, it's like, yeah, like I think even if you're a PC gamer, like there are certain games you might want to play on your television with a controller.
Yeah. I mean, it's also these kind of devices, Team Linux's point from last week, right? That he uses it for encoding videos with Handbrake and using it as a jellyfin.
That would be a big thing for me if this came to pass, is like turning it into a media hub, because like I'm kind of increasingly like getting sick of streamers and stuff. Like I'm tired of like.
Yeah, I want to watch White Lotus, but I do not want to subscribe to yet another service again.
Well, and like. I'm tired of stuff disappearing. It's like there are like shows that I enjoy that have been taken off of, like Max, for example, right? And you just can't get them anywhere anymore because it's like, because the power.
Should have known with a service with a name like Max, it was going to cause problems.
As soon as they got rid of the HBO, it's like something about those Max characters. I don't know. But I think that I think there's definitely a use case for this type of device. I really hope that Valve commits to making one at some point. I think there's a lot of potential in the idea, and it's something that like I think if it existed, I think I could see myself moving over to Steam.
This definitely exists internally at Valve. They've definitely got these kicking around. It's whether this comes as priority over the VR as well. Like, is the VR headset the decade? That's probably the next thing on the cards.
They should do this
They're
next.
A very small team.
They should do this
I kind of feel like they should too.
I think this has a way bigger market potential.
Maybe the different teams. Maybe the Index team is working on the decade. The Steam Deck OLED team is working on the box.
Here's my thing.
Possible.
Here's my thing. I think the set-top box has way more market potential. I think that's a thing that could sell to a way larger group of people than a VR headset, period. And if it comes out first, then the VR headset can be a thing that you buy to use with it.
Yes. Yeah,
and I think that it makes...
The headset's meant to be standalone.
Yeah, but I'm... Okay. Maybe that doesn't make sense. But... I don't know.
What's that rumor though? Okay, that it did connect to like a box. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And I was gonna say like I was literally okay. Now that you say that, I remember. And I was about to say, is that a science fiction thing that I'm about to suggest? But couldn't it be standalone and then you could plug it into a device
some of the processing power off device?
So like that would be nice.
The video stream back.
Like I think that would be really cool, and that could be their elevator pitch for like,
I think they just need a good reason as to why, and I think the why is it's easy. It's easy
and cheaper, like right? Because like I think if it is like if they come in at like an $800, $900, even $1,000 price point, I think that's quite a bit cheaper than what the average, what you're going to spend on a high quality rig, and if it's capable of achieving even a lower end of higher benchmarks, that's if it can play the newest games on Ultra, right? It's like, all right,
I'd like to see a level of modularity with it, though, that the Steam Deck can't offer, which is I'd want a slot to put an SSD in it. I'd maybe want to be able to upgrade the RAM sticks. unless they solder them to the board, which they probably would.
Yeah,
Like
I think you can't
like.
I think you can't go too deep with that. I think you can allow for some modularity, but I think if you go too deep with the modularity, you're moving away from the
the SSD is a necessity. I mean, even the PS5 has that.
Oh, I think it would absolutely have an SSD. I don't think that would even need to be a thing that would be expandable. I think it's just like...
No, I think it should be expandable because the PS5 is expandable. It's got that slot. I think if you're competing against that, if that's what you're going up against, you know, you're coming into the living room, Xbox is dead. And we're going to talk about that on Flip Screen Game Podcast this week. And PlayStation is your competitor. And what have they got? They've got a killer controller, and they've got expandable storage. And those are the two real things that you want to do. You pair this with the Steam Controller 2, which is in the works and looks like it's everything we've ever dreamed of. Potentially, they're onto a winner.
Makes a lot of sense. So we'll see. Yoshibaru, we think it's a good idea too. I really hope it happens. I really do. I think particularly to see like what that could do, you know, in like the markets that they like have recently broken into, like in Asia and stuff like that, where like the Steam ecosystem is kind of like just getting exposed to people. It's like, yeah, that could be huge. That could be really huge. Imagine if you could like get a box like this going and you sell it in China, right? It's like, you know, like that's a huge opportunity, I think. A lot more than a VR headset.
Yeah, probably. You like deck out the cafes in South Korea with them as well.
Yeah, right?
Pre-install CSGO on it. Sorry,
World of Tanks
3 on it.
You know, a couple.
World of Tanks. Do people play that stuff?
I don't know if that's still a big thing. That was like such a big game over there, and every time I bring it up, I'm like, is this like a 10-year-old reference that I like? Is
I think it probably is. Yeah.
Probably not relevant anymore.
Yeah. I was listening to Jason Schreier's book and like how disastrous Overwatch 2 was and stuff. You know, that's a great book, by the way.
Oh, I haven't gotten into it yet. I'm really excited though.
So good.
I'm really excited. Does he narrate the audiobook?
No, it's Ray Chase. Ray Case.
Okay. Yeah, I know.
Who did the previous two? It was great.
He was good. Yeah, great. Well, we'll leave it there for today, folks. Let us know what you think in the comments down below. Are you interested in a Valve, set top console box? Are you worried about malware getting on your Valve set top console box? Write in with your thoughts, all the ways that you can. Hit us up over at flipscreen.games. However you choose to get involved, that is the #1 way for you to, check out the sister shows, go become a Patreon supporter. All the ways that you can show your support or get involved in the community, you'll do them over there. Thank you all so much for tuning in to another episode of the Steam Deck Podcast, with a very, very special thank you to our Patreon producers for the month of February. They are supposed to be in front of me, and I can't find it. Steve, vamp for a second.
Are they not here in the dock?
I got him. Okay, they are, of course, Arnold J. Rimmer, Christopher Valence, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, a.k.a. Asobi, Project Julian, Susan Still Likes Cats and also Boobies, Voodoo Vic, Ty the Dude, and Waka Hula, and then, of course, our brand new Patreon producer, That One Kid, Nick. Thank you guys so much for your support over on patreon.com/flipscreengames. You all the realest of the real, and we greatly appreciate your support of this and all of our sister shows. Remember, if you want to let us know what you thought about the show, you can let us know in the comments down below, or head over to flipscreen.games to write in. If you're watching on YouTube, please remember to give this episode a like, share it with a friend, and click that notification bell so you never miss an episode of the Steam Deck Podcast. If you're an audio listener, please take a second to leave us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. It really helps the show get circulated. For the crew, I've been Pete, he's been Steve, over there's been a photo of Max. We'll see you next week! I'm gonna do this to him every week he misses the show.
Can we get different pictures?